Welcome to Seltzer Squad, the podcast about staying sober in the city, with your hosts, Kate Sander and Jess Valentine.
Today's episode is sponsored by Audible. Have you just finished binging every single episode of Seltzer Squad and want even more content to fill your time with? Why don't you check out audible.com? They have millions of audiobooks and exclusive podcasts that you can't get anywhere else. And if you want your first month free, go to audibletrial.com/Seltzer Squad. Get your first month free. Think of how many free books you can get in that much time. Once again, go to audibletrial.com/Seltzer Squad and get your first month free. Hey everyone, if you're a fan of the show and want to support us and get more content for yourself, go to patreon.com/Seltzer Squad to find even more content. There are 2 tiers. If you're Princess FOMO, for $2.99 a month, you can get early access to episodes on Wednesdays instead of Fridays. And for $4.99 a month, if you're a former hot mess, you can get that plus video episodes of every episode that comes out. In addition, we even put bonus surprise content. For both tiers, go to patreon.com/Seltzer Squad. Help support us and get extra surprise content for yourself.
Hi, Jess.
Hi, Kate. We went off on a tangent. We were recording and then talking about
We're on
nonsense.
a roll tonight.
Aren't we, though?
We are. We're going to take the advice of a Seltzer Squad listener, and we're going to do an episode on anger.
Yes, because it's been, I feel like we do one like when we first started?
I think we talked about anger a couple of times, but I feel more evolved, maybe.
Yes,
I also feel
absolutely.
less
And
angry.
I feel also like further removed from it probably too, because I feel like in the beginning I was also really, when I got sober, I was still really angry, but then I was angry at all of the things like, why is the rosé all day shirts or that kind of shit? And now I'm like, whatever. I'm like not as angry of a person, I guess.
Yeah, that stuff's more cringe to me now. I'm like, pass.
Yeah. I just don't even fucking care. I think it's stupid. Don't get me wrong. Like,
so when you get angry now, what does it look like?
I mean, I definitely am better about taking more time. I'm less reactionary, I guess is what I should say. Not that I can't be reactionary, but it's night and day.
Much less reactionary.
Yeah. Like, oh my God. So,
I was looking for old pictures of myself and I had all those screenshots. Remember when you got into that fight with that friend of ours at the beginning of the podcast?
Okay.
N, who was like posting mean stuff about us, remember? And I have those, you sent me all the screenshots and I was like reminiscing about that, but I feel like that old Jess will like fucking, even then you were dealing with it really well, but like prior to that, you were definitely like more of a pop off. Like if like a baby was crying at the next table, you'd be like, can someone shut the baby up?
Yeah.
I fucking hate kids. Do they have to be here?
But like, but I'm like also a pussy. So I would do like the cowardly thing of like not addressing the person directly, but being loud and passive aggressive.
Yes.
So I'm less like that now.
Yeah, I don't think you're like that as much, right? I mean, I don't hang out with you on the real
no.
in real life as much.
Well, I also don't do anything. So
yeah.
I'm still like that a little bit. Don't get me wrong. When I went with my family to San Francisco, we were at the airport and there was this guy and he was listening to his fucking techno music. He was like an older guy too, listening to his techno music without headphones, loud as fuck at like 6 a.m. And I did say, I'm like, I'm about to lose it on this fucking guy right now. I did say that because I wanted him to hear me when I could have just been like, sir, would you mind turning that down a little bit? Yeah. It's just not me. But I have a tendency to hold things in and let them boil and then kind of explode. So I'm working on that.
Me too. The boiling and the exploding for sure.
Yeah, but I'm much better now. So
we were like moving out of our apartment and both of us were like carrying all this shit like to the pickup, like back and forth. And there was like one of those like door knocker people for political parties who was like standing outside like the door that we were like walking past, and he was like, TJ's nice enough to like talk to this person, and I was just like, I was literally like shooting him death daggers from my eyes, like, can you not fucking see that we're like up to our tits in the middle of something? And then he just proceeded to stand there to see if anybody else from the apartment building would come out. And so finally I had said to him, do you think you could come back later? Like, we're kind of busy right now. And it was like a little meaner than I wanted it to come out.
You were
but I at
moving
least,
stuff out?
Yeah, he was like literally standing in the fucking doorway while we were like moving all this crap by him. And I remember being like, I'm glad I said something, because old me would have just like huff and puff like by him. But then I was like, I could have been nicer.
But you could have done it gentler.
Yeah. Like, it's not his problem that I'm moving.
It's not, but... it's not.
Right.
However, I have a very low patience, like threshold or whatever, for people who lack common sense.
Yes, me too.
It's really hard to deal with stupid people.
Yes.
And it's
but
just
it's also
like,
that's relative, right? Like, because we're stupid at some shit, and everyone is stupid at different shit, you know?
100%. It's just like little like things like that. It's like, dude, move. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, that's the type of stuff I don't have the patience for. Or like when someone's double parked in the middle of the street, but they're like double parked.
TJ loses his fucking mind over this.
But there's like a spot right there, but it's a hydrant. It's like, but just, you're obviously going to be just in your car for 5 minutes. So just park in front of the hydrant for 5 minutes rather than in the street where people can't drive. Like, it just, oh my God, just like things like that, you know, or like people, it's just like the little things, like people like not walking on the escalator or the people mover at the airport. It's like, move aside, motherfucker. Like, what do you think this is? Do you think this is a ride?
Yeah, I'm gotten better about being like, excuse me, like, which is like, if you knew me before, you know.
It's hard because it's like, I'm trying to find the correct balance of not taking shit and getting angry and then being direct, but not like cunty, or like, you know, like when I can be nicer.
Yes, yeah.
And it's definitely a struggle, but like when I was drinking,
I think as women it's hard. Like anytime we're like being assertive, it's like, well, fuck that bitch, you know?
Yeah. And it's like, no, I'm not being a bitch. I'm being direct. You know what I mean? Or I'm like upholding my boundaries or whatever. So.
And now I've gotten, I think it also has to do with the drinking thing, because you have to get used to saying no and people pestering you, that like you have to be assertive. It just becomes second nature. And now, before, I think like if you want to do something or you don't want to do something, you know right away, like in your gut, you're like, oh, I don't want to do that, but I will do it anyway. Even though I'm gonna hate it, and I'm not gonna, you know, I'm just gonna take it. And now I'm much better about being like, oh, fuck no, I'm not doing that. And it comes out like kind of abrasively. Like if somebody wanted to do something for work and they said like, we should all, and I was like, no. And they were like, why? And I was like, that sounds like a terrible idea. Like, we spend all of our time together. Like, I don't fucking need to go to a restaurant with you after work. Like, we spend fucking 40 hours a week together, and we're not like related and we're not in a relationship. Like, I don't need to spend extra time with you outside of this building. And like, I think they took it the wrong way, but I was like, genuinely, we couldn't spend more fucking time together. You know, Jack?
No, I know. Like, I get it.
And so now I'm like it's very easy for me to be like, oh, fuck no, I'm not doing that. And it can come off a little bit ruder, even though that's just me being a little bit more vocal. But I think when I was drinking and I would get angry, it's because I was people pleasing so much and I was so quiet about what I wanted and just the injustices of the world, right? A lot of the things I can't control, it would just fester and fester and fester. And then I would drink and get to a point where you start to feel like you're losing a little bit of control and you like it. similar to the same energy when you're like, oh, I'm going to go dance on the dance floor and I don't care what anyone thinks. It's kind of the same energy, but it can go in different places. Like you can either go and like, I'm going to lose my mind and dance all night and have so much fun, or this one thing is going to like open the floodgates of all of that other anger. Set me off. And then it doesn't matter who it is or what it was, like it's fucking on. And for me, I think I tended to take it out on TJ or people I didn't know, because then it couldn't be like linked back to me somehow.
Yeah, it's either the person that you're closest to or a complete stranger, because fuck them.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, I remember like having a come to Jesus moment with TJ and being like, I've been mad at you for years about this stuff because I've never talked to you about it and I've never brought it up. And like, I'm still mad about it. Like he went on this fishing trip one year that cost so much fucking money. It was like exorbitantly expensive. He didn't end up even having all that much fun. And I was like so fucking mad at him. I was mad at him for like 3 years. And finally one day I was just like, I've been mad at you about this fishing trip that like exists in the past, you know, and I've never told you like how mad I was and I need you to acknowledge it. And then it was like totally diffused and we didn't talk about it again. And I think there's like little instances like that. Like I even know like with my relationship with my dad, there's shit that he does that it builds up, you know. It's like the one thing isn't that big of a deal, but then there's another thing and another thing and another thing. And then there's that part of you that's inside, the little inner you, baby you, that's like damaged and traumatized, that just kind of, it triggers that stuff. And for me, that's the anger that I still don't really know how to deal with. It's like the disappointed anger. I'm mad because I'm disappointed about my expectations of something.
Yes. I was just going to say, I feel like that comes down to, that's our own shit, right? When it's like, we have expectations and then it's like, we're probably just going to be let down because we are the ones who built up these expectations. And then we create this like bar. And if someone doesn't arise to the occasion, we're immediately let down. So it's like, but it's really hard to not set yourself up with expectations.
It's also like, really hard not to be let down, you know, like that's life.
Yeah.
But where is the bar between I don't deserve this and everyone's just doing their best? Like that for me is a struggle constantly, is like, I deserve better than this, but everyone is doing their best. And there's a lot of anger for me that lives in between those two.
That's a hard one. I don't know. But like the first thing, it's like, you weren't even that angry. It sounds to me like you were less angry about like the trip you took and more like you needed the validation. You know what I mean? Like you needed the validation of your feelings rather than the actual like fishing trip, right?
Well, and just like the acknowledgement that like, yeah, it was probably not a good idea. And like,
yeah, like you just wanted to like, I told you so.
Well, not necessarily. And I guess. And then I think the other thing for me is that a lot of the times when I'm angry, I'm actually just really hurt and it comes out as anger and I can't express the pain instead.
I'm like, good. Yeah, that's me too.
It's easier for me to get mad than to be vulnerable and say like, this hurt my feelings.
It's a defense mechanism. I mean, I'm 100% right there with you. I do the same thing. Like, I 100% will like, I don't like being vulnerable. I mean, no one likes being vulnerable. Well, some people have no problem with it, right? Some of us do. So I'm very much more like offensive rather than like going to be, put myself in a vulnerable position. If I'm upset, I'd rather just get nasty.
Yeah. I will say that since I've gotten sober, I used to have like a lot of issues, even since I was like a teenager, with anger regulation. Like I would get so mad and I would have like no outlet for it, that I would literally just like shake when I was a teenager. I would be like so fucking mad that I would like thought I was going to explode. And my sister has similar anger, a little bit worse than me, but like we process it in a similar way.
Same way.
But something that I've done with TJ is like, he calls it thrasher. He's like, you're going to get thrashy. And I like genuinely need to sometimes yell, scream, and thrash, like in a respectable area, like a car, in my room, in my house, my garage, like to get it out of my body, to like actually process the anger. Like sometimes I do need to fucking yell and scream about something. And fucking punch shit. And, you know, like there's been times upstate where I'm like trying to do something in the garage, or I'm like refinishing a piece of furniture and I don't know, something falls and I stub my toe and I get fucking so mad. Like, I literally have to express the anger like out of my system. And I think that's okay. As long as I'm not putting anyone in danger.
I get that. Like when I'm doing something like, and it's just not going your way, you know, like I like building something or hanging something and the anchor's fucking bending or whatever. Yes. And it's just like repeated, like, I'll do that thing where like, and then I'll just be like, I'm not mad at you. Yeah. I'm just frustrated with the situation and I don't want to like, there's been plenty of times I'm like, I don't want to take it out on you. I'm just really angry right now.
Yeah.
And it's hard.
My teacher will hear me yelling and he'll be like, are you okay? And I'm like, yes, you're back. Like, just leave me alone, you know?
Yeah.
And I will yell at him if the situation is severe. Like we were on this fucking boat a few years ago, and nothing makes me more mad than when I suggest something and then I'm told something else and then I end up being right. Like nothing in life makes me more fucking mad than being right the first time and being told that I'm not right. So we were this fucking boat camping trip. So we were on this little, like, we were canoeing and we had all this shit in our boat. And I was like, I think we need to go that way. And he was like, no, we need to go over here. So we're fucking rowing hours, right? Rowing. We're rowing on this stupid fucking lake. We were going in the wrong direction. And so then, okay, like fine, course correct. But then all of a sudden the boat started taking on water and the boat started to sink. And I was like, we have to stay close to the shoreline so like we can walk the boat. You know, at this point we'd been rowing for hours and he like wasn't fucking listening to me. And I was just literally screaming at him. It's a joke now, like it's an inside joke, but I was like screaming at him at the top of my lungs because I was just so frustrated. And I think that is a very real anger that I still experience, is when I ask somebody a question and they tell me something and then my first instinct ends up being correct. Then I'm like fucking furious because I'm like, why didn't I trust myself? Why the fuck did I go on? Why didn't I just listen to myself? And it's like, I'm more mad at me than I am at the person, but I'm still mad, you know?
Yeah.
So that's definitely something that I still need to work on, but
you're aware of it.
I'm aware of it. Yes. So I Googled that apparently there are 3 different types of anger. And obviously, you know, we're not professionals. This is on yourlifecounts.org, a website, but this is something interesting because I'd never looked at it this way. So there are 3 types of anger. There is passive aggression, open aggression, and assertive anger. So passive aggression means, you don't like to admit that you're angry because you don't like confrontation. You'll be passive aggressive. Things come out in a silent way when you're angry, sulking, procrastinating, pretending everything is fine. Passive aggression comes from a need to be in control. Okay. That's a big one for me. Super passive aggressive. Or I used to be. I'm more direct now, but okay. Open aggression, on the other hand, people that lash out in anger or rage, become physically or verbally aggressive, can oftentimes hurt themselves or others. This is open aggression. So it's like fighting, bullying, blackmailing, accusing, shouting, bickering, sarcasm, and criticism. Open aggression comes from a need to be in control. All of these.
I was like, what if you do both?
Okay. But a third way, the healthy way, is assertive anger, is a way to deal with anger by being controlled and confident, talking and listening, and open to help in dealing with the situation. Assertive anger can help relationships grow. It means thinking before you speak, being confident in how you say it, yet open and flexible to the other side. It also means being patient, not raising your voice, communicating how you are feeling emotionally, and really trying to understand what others are feeling. When you deal with anger aggressively, you demonstrate that you are mature and care about your relationships and yourself.
I do all 3 of those.
Me too. Which one do you do the most?
It depends, I think.
I think I'm probably mostly It depends on the situation. Like in my relationship.
Yeah, it's situational. Yeah.
I'm definitely more assertive or open. I'm not very passive aggressive with TJ. He like kind of
What was open? Assertive is the good one, right?
Assertive is the good one. Open is like you're fighting or yelling, and then passive is like you're fucking
being a cunt. Being a bitch.
Quiet little bitch in the corner.
Yeah, the whole like pretending like everything's okay when it's not.
Yes,
guilty.
but I definitely am more passive aggressive at work because I feel like I have less
confrontation.
Control.
Yeah,
and I feel like you don't want to make waves, so I'm just like silently pissed at my dad, and then like I get like resentful and apathetic.
Yeah.
If like my anger goes unaddressed for too long, then I'm like, well, I don't fucking care about this anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. Anger's funny.
How do you deal with anger at work?
Weird.
Because I feel like your environments are much more intimate. That's difficult.
Sometimes I'll go and I'll take a minute. I'll like leave.
Do you say it like that? I need a minute.
Yeah, sometimes I just like need a minute, but I don't tell the client, like I'll pretend like it's usually, for example, if someone has like makes me redraw and then I redraw and then they're like, oh, but now I want this change. It's just like, rather than tell me all of the things that they want changed. And it's like, if I'm still redrawing after like an hour because they can't like give me a clear, concise, like explanation, like communicate what they want, that's when I get frustrated. And then like,
what do you say? That's hard.
I draw when I'm like away. Like I'll go into a different area to draw so I can get it all out, or I'll text Cam or whoever just to like have that outlet, because the last thing I want to do is take it out on a client, especially when it's like they're not intentionally trying to piss me off. You know what I mean? They just like don't get it. And I always try to stop and remind myself of like this situation, like if it's like a client, like they don't know, like this isn't their profession. Like they're not around it like you are. There's a coworker and that I like have, and I just have to like, she just thinks differently. Like, and I just have to remind myself sometimes, like, she's not right. Like you just have to remind yourself, like, she does not think like you. Like, you can't say normal person, but it's just like not like, I don't know, like how, like I can't relate to like that thought process. I'm like, what? So it's just like the constant, I guess, like stopping and checking myself and kind of just like either figuring out why I'm angry, or like not even why I'm angry, because I'm usually know why I'm angry, but like trying to feel like the best way to move forward in the situation, I guess, because I want to keep it professional. Mm-hmm. While like, if it's like your sister or your like partner, like you don't need to keep it professional. So you're way more like, it's weird that we like hurt the people we love the most. Like, why is that? Like, why do we do that? Why do we feel like we can disrespect those people that we love the most? Like, I don't understand.
I think it's
like,
because
why
they're close to us and we know that they probably won't leave.
Yeah.
It's like my older sister is like wicked to her family sometimes. And really? I've been on the receiving end of her wickedness. Yeah. And I genuinely I think it's a huge need for control. I get that. I definitely get angry when I feel out of control of something. And you can't.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's, she's like a nice lady at work, and then she comes home and she can be a monster. I think we all can. I mean, I think I'm better about processing it now, and I think I'm better about filtering what I let truly get to me. I'm able to let a lot of things go now that I'm like, I think that also has to deal with sobriety, because I'm more confident in myself. So I feel like if I've got my shit under control and something makes me mad and it's not my fucking problem, then I can let it go. Like, yeah, I'll be annoyed in the moment. But I'm like, not my fucking problem. Bye. Like,
yeah.
Where I feel like I used to let a lot of other people's business bother me, where now I'm like, not my fucking problem. See you later.
I feel like I'm much better at that too. Just kind of like what Jody says, like you can't get upset about shit that you can't control. It's just how you deal with it. So I try to like remember that shit and just,
Yeah.
I
had something else I wanted to say about anger. What the fuck? Oh, the other thing is I've noticed, I think I've talked about this before, but like I notice like you'll throughout the day we'll have like so many highs and lows, like so many extreme emotions. Like you're having a great time, you're having the worst time. This is the best client, this is the worst client. This is, and I feel like our need to be in constant communication with people also kind of can reinforce those bad moments, because you're never like texting someone like, I'm having the fucking best day of work, but you are texting like every single heightened emotion that you have throughout the course of the day. Like there's a running thread of your current emotions all day long. And I think sometimes that can trip me up and make me mad about something for longer. So I'm like, I'm also a codependent person that needs like my feelings constantly validated. So I'm like, if I'm mad about something, I need to tell someone right away so that I can burden them with it instead of, me having to carry this extreme emotion for 45 minutes alone, and I think that's something that I know that I need to work on, is like, just fucking slow your roll for a minute. Like, are you mad? Actually, are you hurt? And can you do something about it? Can you not? Like Jody had me literally make like a map of responses, because it's like you're proactive in life or you're reactive in life. Proactive means you're planning something. Reactive means you're, an SOS, you're reacting to a situation. So underneath all of those buckets, under proactive, you can either be, somebody is listening to you or they're not listening to you, right? So if I'm trying to plan something like, oh, I think a storm is coming, we should pull the plants inside, and somebody doesn't listen to me, and then it does storm and, the plants get ruined, whatever, random example, like then I'm mad. And is it because I then put that responsibility on them versus myself? Like, so she had me break down like what all of the emotions end up looking like through the responses. So if I'm in a reactionary situation, it usually means I need help. I'm vulnerable. It means I'm reacting to something that I wasn't expecting. And if somebody doesn't meet my needs in that regard, then I feel abandoned and I feel like life isn't fair. Whereas if I feel like I planned something and no one's listening to me, then I just feel like ignored and I feel not heard. So it's like different emotions. And I realized once I kind of went through the exercise of what the true feelings were at the end of all of these, decisions, then I was like, oh, so if I'm in an emergency and I need help and someone ignores me, then I'm usually hurt. Whereas if I'm trying to be proactive and somebody doesn't listen to me, usually I'm angry because they're not hearing me,
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that has helped me a lot with my anger, because I'm like, also if it's just not my fucking problem and I'm trying to be proactive to someone else and they're not listening to me, then it's not my fucking problem. I told you, like, I don't care. No, this is not my burden to carry,
I know. The number one thing that like stresses me out at work is running late. Because I hate, and it comes down to people pleasing, and I don't want to be running late for the next person and have them wait for me and then have them get angry. So that's why if someone has me redrawing for like an hour, it's like, well, now I'm fucked. Like now my whole day is fucked. And then I'm going to be late for my second appointment, and then I'm late for my third. And I really hope I brought the dogs to work that day, because if not, they're going to fucking need to like go out. Like it's just like all like dumb shit. But that doesn't, also,
and
like
it's ultimately it's disrespectful, right? Like that's what I'm getting. Is like it's a bit disrespectful to you and your time.
It is and it's not, depending. You know what I mean? Like sometimes like there's just a miscommunication, but then sometimes it's like they're just whatever. But this happens so rare, like for the most part, like that's not a problem. And something I do all the time is, yes, I'll like complain. Well, I'll like text if someone's like annoying me, but another thing that I do, which I'm realizing now that I do it, is whenever I have like a really nice client, so every time, as soon as they leave, I always go, she was so nice. Like, so just like saying something positive. So I do the same. I guess what I'm saying is I do the same. Like, even if I'm like annoyed or if I'm like really like someone, I'll be like, that girl was so cool, or like whatever. So I try to like, I feel like there's a good balance, because I don't want to just be a negative Nancy all the time,
What about in your relationship? What makes you the most angry? Well, the most. I can give you an example.
Everything. Yeah, of mine or
no,
you?
of mine. Like, so TJ operates on what I call TJ time, where he's never on time for anything. And that I like you, enjoy being punctual.
Yes.
And so if I'm going to do something at a time, I'm going to do something at the time. Like that's the time, right? So
yeah.
And it's like this silent battle that we have because he's so completely oblivious to it that it just fucking rocks me to my core. So what I've now started doing is that if we say that we're going to do something, I've just had to release all expectations. Like this might happen, this might not fucking happen. And then if it is indeed something that we're going to do and I know that we're going to run late, like I literally I now am the one that gets ready later because I'm just like, well, it's either maybe going to happen. And he doesn't seem bothered by running late. So I don't know, but or I'll just leave.
Running late.
Me too.
I hate it. And Cam's like TJ. And like there'll be times and I'm like
time blindness is a thing.
Started, you're doing your makeup now.
Yes.
Now. Like we should be walking out there. We should be in the car and you're just starting your makeup now. Like that fucking infuriates me.
Why do you think it makes us so mad? Because I feel like that's disrespectful to me, to what we're doing, where we're going, who we're seeing,
the
like
person
all of it.
Yeah.
Yes, I feel like it's just so disrespectful.
It's not like sitting on the couch waiting for her to be ready. Like that doesn't. That's like whatever. Either. I'll fuck around on my phone.
Yes.
It's the like. What were you doing? You were just sitting having coffee for 20 minutes. Like other people's lack of time management.
Yes.
Fucking it infuriates me when it fucking affects me.
Me too. Because my cup is full, man. It's fucking full. Like an extra minute, we're running 10 extra minutes behind. Like I'm fucked now. Like
and then they're like, "Oh, it's fine." I'm like, it's not fine.
Yes.
Oh my god, it drives me fucking crazy. Yes. And then like, there's been 2 times recently that we got in a fight in the car, and she's made me pull over, and she gets out, and then she's just dicking around. Just sticking around, walking away from me as I like drive around like one-way streets trying to find her.
Yeah, that's rough.
I'm like, now we're late for our fucking wedding food tasting, which we even get married? Probably not. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Then you go to like
it's
the
always
extremes.
Like really inopportune times. It's but that is also a personal thing of mine. Is like, if something was meant to happen and then it like doesn't, I get like severe anxiety. I'm like, oh, well, now I can't do this. Like, it's like sometimes it's fine. Like, I'm like, yeah, let's not go out to eat, you know? But like, if it's like a planned thing, I'm like, well, we were supposed to put our guests.
What time did you fucking want to get there?
Yeah. It's just, anyway, I'm getting annoyed just thinking about it.
Yes. Same.
So yeah.
But that's why I always like, if you make plans with me, I know you're going to show up, or we'll both like consensually flake. But
yeah, we always want to flake like the same things.
Yes. But if you
and then we're always,
going to do something at a certain time, I know you're going to be there. And I like that about you. Because it's like, friends that you have that are going to show up on time and the ones that aren't. And that's also annoying.
Yeah. Yeah. You're very punctual. And we're zooming out. And we're both the same. Like, even if I'm going to be like 5 minutes late to something, I text them.
Yeah. Or I'm like, traffic, you're like, on my way, I'm in traffic. Like,
yeah, it's just consider. I guess it just all boils down to consideration.
Yes. Yeah.
That's all. Anyway, we have gone off on tangents.
All right. That's it on anger. I'm not that mad anymore. I mean, I get mad, but I feel like I try to process it and let it out.
Yeah. I'm not like Larry David anymore. I feel like I used to be more like Larry David. Nah, maybe. I don't know.
I don't know. I am kind of mad about like that kind of random stuff, but I haven't had like.
Actually, I like 100% am Larry David. I'm just pretending like I'm not because he's Larry David. But it's true. It's like the lady in front of you, like having a sample of all the ice creams, and she like samples vanilla. He's like, seriously? Oh, vanilla. What's vanilla taste like? What the fuck do you think vanilla tastes like? You're 46 years old. You've never had vanilla ice cream?
But the thing is, like, I'll just leave now. Like, I'll straight up, like, nope, not gonna fucking, nope, sorry, Cheryl.
It depends, I guess.
Here. Like, I don't want it that bad. So, yeah, I can, maybe our little Larry Davids, but I think also because my seasonal depression has lifted, I'm not as angry. I think that the connection you made to depression was very important.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, until we meet
It's
again,
late.
Don't be mad. Don't be mad.
And don't forget, hangovers suck.
Good night.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast. Every review helps other listeners find us. Music by Dead Go West. Art by Kate Sander. For show notes and resources, check out seltzersquad.com.